From MLS weekend fireworks to one of the most respected coaches in all of college women's soccer and the latest shakeup in the Michigan high school rankings, we've got it all on this morning's edition of Inside the Game.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Good morning and happy Monday. Here's episode number 163 here of Inside the Game. I'm in my Shelby Township studios here. Nice wide angle as we are not joined by Nate Wangler today. He is taking a little hiatus for a couple days with he's not out west. He's,
there we go.
With the girlfriend and so which is really, really cool. But Ryan, man, first off, I was not here on Friday. How was that show?
It was good. Some good conversation. We had some good interactions in the live chat as well by a couple people. So it was a grand old time, and we're glad to. Again, we still have not had a normal show in like a week and a half to 2 weeks. We've not had. I think we've had it one time between the three of us. We've only had it one time in the last like 2 weeks. So we'll get back to normal soon.
We will. We've got a great show here this morning. We obviously will do some recap here of the MLS weekend. We're gonna talk with long-term women's college soccer head coach Tony DeLuce, and you talk about over 300 career victories. He's doing some great things there at Wake Forest. On the women's side, we've had a chance, obviously, to talk with the men's side. So we've been able, I guess, I think it's the first school that we've actually been able to talk to both coaches, and that'll take place here this morning. We'll also talk about the Michigan high school soccer coaches, high school rankings. Again, we started here in Michigan. We will continue to honor the great state of Michigan here. We'll get into high school boys soccer rankings here again, and then we'll dive into some mailbag here a little bit later here at the end of the show. This past Friday, I was not here. And, but back in September the 1st, actually, it was now they say your uncle, I think we all have someone in our family that we might maybe call aunt, uncle, and maybe it's not necessarily an actual blood relative, but they're like your mom or dad's like best friend, right? I don't know if you have that in your life.
I do, yeah.
Like my kids, one of their uncles is Uncle Shu, my best friend. And obviously he's not blood, but I've known him for over 20-some years. And so my kids, they call him Uncle Shu. And so growing up, I had an uncle, Uncle Bill, not family, but he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer back about 7 months ago. And they told him it was terminal and he was going to be put in hospice, and he passed away on the 1st of September. And they had told me that there was going to be a memorial. And it just so happened to be it was this Friday, and so I traveled with my mom and dad and my sister and my brother out to Saline, Michigan, where we obviously participated in the wake and the funeral. I will tell you this much: it was kind of a cool thing. We were at the cemetery, Ryan, and we're walking up to he was in the Army, and so he got his military honors. And so when you pass away, if you were ever served in the military, you receive the military honors. And so we were at the gravesite walking up. It's a beautiful day. It's 80 degrees outside. There's not really a cloud in the sky, and above us is a bald eagle flying around. It was pretty impressive to see, like, while you're getting ready to hear taps and the 21 gun salute and this honor guard, you're seeing the bald eagle flying over. I don't see a lot of bald eagles when I'm out and about. So it was pretty impressive, but we laid my Uncle Bill to rest here on Friday, and lived a great life. It was a really cool experience to be able to be a part of that on Friday, honoring my uncle and my aunt Pat. So that's what we did here on Friday. We have a great show lined up here today. We're going to dive into a lot of MLS conversation, but when we come back here from our break, we will be joined here by the head women's soccer coach at Wake Forest, and Tony DeLuce. Don't go anywhere. Episode 163 continues.
The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins MLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game on this Monday morning. And, before we welcome in Tony DeLuce, I think it's important to talk about what he's done here over the last 3 decades. I mean, an architect of one of the college soccer's most consistent programs. As head coach of Wake Forest, he's been there for 28 of the 31 years the program has existed. Again, it has built an ACC contender each and every year. They're currently ranked number 16 according to United Soccer Coaches poll here recently as of last week. And now we're joined here by the head coach, and Tony DeLuce. And Tony, welcome in. Sounds? Go ahead and turn it up a little bit. Maybe that's on my end. Go ahead and talk for me, Tony. Are you seeing levels?
I'm not.
Yep. So we're not seeing levels. This is not uncommon. We've had this happen before. So working through some of the sound.
Actually happens every single time.
I feel like. So Tony, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you down at the bottom. There should be a button for your microphone. And if not, you might have to go out and try it again by going at the top of the link. There should be a thing that says click here for advanced settings, and that might help you as well. Still no levels, huh?
No. We had it right when he joined in.
Well, let's go ahead and push him, me and you back on the screen here. We'll continue to work on that with Tony. Again, this is live. I love live environments, right? So
it happens every single time. Every single coach has this issue.
It is true. It is true. Well, what we could do is, for the sake of we could use the browser from our Google. That could work too.
Google.
The Google, like your calendar. If we can't, again, what I would say is this: if he can still hear me, again, if he backs out of vMix,
he can still hear us.
If he backs out of vMix, goes back out, clicks on the link again that we sent you in the email, and then go ahead and before you enter into this environment, there's going to be a thing at the top where you put your name. Just above that says "Click here for advanced properties." Click on that, and that will give you the opportunity to select your microphone. I would try that first. and then we'll go the other route, which is another way.
But yeah, this happens every single time. Every single coach has this, and it's something that we're trying to work out every single time to get better every single time. But yeah, just kind of looking at the weekend, there was a lot of stuff that happened in American soccer that we can talk about as the week progresses on. But I think before we do that, we should maybe bring up this graphic. Tony DeLuce, Wake Forest women's soccer coach. We bring up the whole week list of guests.
We absolutely should.
So here is the week-long guest. If John, you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, we got a great, and this is just the ones that will be joining us live. We have, I think, 3 more that we'll do pre-recorded here. And so, yeah, we've got Kevin Boyd from Milwaukee Women's joining us here. Tomorrow, Sean Burke on Wednesday, Andy Stutz from Ball State Women's Soccer on Thursday, and Garrett Elliott will join us here for Rhode Island Men's Soccer on Friday. And I think we are good to go with sound now.
I think so.
Are we good?
We are good, yes.
All right. I think my phone was interfering. That's what it was.
No. Well, we appreciate you stopping on by here this morning. We know you're busy. We know that you're in the middle of your soccer season. And the first question that I wanted to ask you, is you've been at the helm at Wake Forest now for nearly 3 decades. What has kept your passion and drive so strong throughout the years while at that program?
First of all, sorry to hear about Uncle Bill. Really, I know it's difficult situations, but what's kept me in it? Just young people, just being around young people all the time. I mean, that's the best thing. It keeps you young and up to date. And the challenge of the ACC is always a great thing, for a coach. It brings the best out of you and keeps you on your toes every single game.
The women's game is a very dynamic one, right? We talk about all the time the difference between the men's game and the women's game in this country is pretty significant, and a lot more. We say a lot of times a lot more opportunity for women in the game of soccer, especially at the collegiate level, as obviously Title IX had a lot to do with that. But when we talk about like the dynamic of where you're trying to recruit players at your program, recruitment is obviously a whole new is changing so much because of the transfer portal and because of the new roster sizes and things like that. How have you as a coach been able to kind of manage that environment with all these new changes and still trying to be competitive in a very difficult conference?
Well, you always have to adapt, I mean, over all these years, everything, things have progressively changed, and you've got to adapt, and you got to be willing to figure it out. And just, Wake Forest is a 4-year school. And, kids don't typically leave Wake because it's such a great education. They get so invested in the community. So we don't typically have a lot of turnover in the school. We have used the portal to bring in a couple kids here and there to address specific needs. But we're not turning the team over every year trying to bring in portal kids, and that's just not the Wake Forest model. So, it's kind of fun. It's kind of a challenge, to be able to have continued success in this new NIL environment and all that. So, it is what it is. We got to keep going. You want to keep your job, you got to adapt.
No, it's a great point, and something we've talked a lot with other coaches, especially when you start talking about mid-majors and getting into the Division II and III programs. There are destination schools, and you mentioned that Wake Forest is one of those. It's a 4-year program. Players come there to play their entire careers. And to be fair, that might be more of an anomaly today than it's ever been. And not saying in Wake Forest situation, but just across the country, because if you are unhappy, if you feel the need, hey, I want to go someplace else, that option is now there, which when it wasn't there in the past. And so how are you able to kind of manage that aspect? Because I know that, again, there are schools out there that are constantly recruiting players, and they're only there for a year. And then they're going to try and make their way towards a school like yours. And so managing that environment as well.
Well, like I said, Wake Forest is about education. That's that's a massive priority. Obviously, we want to have success in our program. But the kids that I'm most proud of are the ones that don't play a lot in their first couple of years, and all of a sudden, they have a great spring and they get a chance to develop. And we have a couple of those in our team right now that didn't get a lot of opportunities over the last 3-4 years because the team was pretty set, and we graduated a massive group. But now that group is gone, and some of these returning players get their chance to shine, and they're taking advantage of it. So, I think that's part of a healthy program and a healthy environment to develop. And we try to spend as much time with every kid on the team as possible. And so when these opportunities come, they're ready to step in and do it.
Hey, Tony, Ryan here. My question for you is, you've been there a very, very long time at Wake Forest. What makes you want to stay at a place so long? Because you kind of see in college athletics that, coaches, players, they move around a lot. Even if they get to like that destination school, sometimes coaches still leave. But what makes you want to stay at Wake Forest for as long as you have?
It's a combination of a lot of things. Obviously I've been part of this community for a long time. I didn't plan to be here for 29 years coming from San Diego. It was a short-term gig originally, but you can't leave the place. It's just such a great community, and it's just such a great school. And you get to work with players who have the right priorities. And we try to recruit that. But again, we have incredible facilities at Wake, incredible soccer program, both men's and women's. So it's a great environment for soccer. And just the challenge of having to get it done in the ACC every year, you can't find that. There's just not better jobs out there. So that's, I'm in a pretty good spot. A lot of people would line up for my job. So yeah, I understand, and I'm grateful for being able to do this, and they pay me to coach women's soccer at a high level. Like it's a dream.
Yeah, John mentioned earlier that this is the first time we've talked to a collegiate program with the men and women's program. And do you have a good relationship with Bobby Moss? Do you guys bounce ideas off each other, or how often do you guys, meet up with each other, once a week, or how many times a week?
It's Muse. He would be very angry if you didn't.
Sorry.
Yeah, Muse. He's got a bunch of U's in there and a bunch of S's. So it's a tough one. Yeah, no, my son played at Wake and had Bobby and Jay back in the day. And so I worked with Bobby when he was an assistant for Jay. And we always got along well. And then he went away to Denver, had a, really, really great career at Denver. And Jay left. We had the opportunity to try and bring Bobby back. And I pushed pretty hard for that because he's a great college coach. And he obviously has incredible success at Wake. So produce a lot of pros. So, we have a good relationship, and we're right next door to each other in our building. And so both programs interact a lot and support each other. Both teams, they're at each other's games. His guys come to our games, and our girls go to his games. And so yeah, it's a good working relationship, which is really important. It's not, I don't take that for granted, because that's not always the case at every school.
We appreciate you being on here this morning. The thing you had talked about, and I think is great, is that in today's world of soccer, we've got a lot of players who want to get to the highest of level, right? And again, we talk about, I think the opportunities for that in this country have just been so much better in the last number of years. But you mentioned having players who maybe want to sit, who are okay not being a primary role person in their season, right? Being coming in with an understanding that, hey, in my role, I might not be a starter. I might be 17th on the depth chart this season, and I have to wait my turn. And that's a big issue, I think, across a lot of the soccer college landscape, is that players maybe don't want to wait. I mean, they're coming from being the best player in their program, maybe the best player in their state, and they're coming to your team and being told, like, hey, you're gonna have to sit maybe a little bit and get some your wheels underneath you a little bit and get some training, and hey, when your chance is there, you take advantage of it. Obviously, you've been there for 30 years, so you've experienced this in a lot of different ways. Is that conversation with the players today a much more difficult conversation to have, or is it one in which, like, they know coming in because you're recruiting that kind of a player?
I don't make any promises in the recruiting process ever. And it doesn't matter what level they are, the national team players, whatever. I don't make any promises about playing time or you're going to start here. We're trying to recruit players that we think have some upside and are going to continue to develop, and they have the right work ethic and work habits. We see that in whether we go to their training or we go to games, see what their personalities are like. I just don't believe in, just handing things out. They have to earn it. And people at Wake Forest have to be versatile, for one thing. And the other thing is they have to have work ethic on and off the field. And that's what we value. And we're always honest with our players and fair. And, all the players, everyone you talk to at our level, they want to be pros. They want to be on the national team. But you have to have a extremely high work ethic in order to achieve that, to even have the chance to do that. And that's not even guaranteed. But it's, like I said before, I have a soft spot for kids who earn their way, and are willing to grind it out over 4 years, and willing to learn and keep working and do it unconditionally, whether they're playing or not. We've had some really great success stories in that area. And those kids set the example for everyone. They've been through it, and they keep everybody in line. So if you have that balance in your team, I think you can have a lot of success.
So last year, you were one win away, right, from winning a national championship, and I'd imagine that's something that everyone is striving for at the beginning of the season. Hey, to hoist that trophy in the last game of the season, right? And you played against obviously a North Carolina side who you see as part of the ACC. Talk about that tournament last year and how impactful, and more importantly, how the team is able to maybe look at that as a growing opportunity to go out there this year and even try to get back there and do it again, right? And get to a point where maybe they could hoist that trophy here at the last day of the season.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a dream season, and that was a team that we built over 4 years. That was not a one and done type of team. A lot of seniors, and a couple transfer kids that came in to put us over the top. And they just showed character every single game. And it was really a self-driven team. Like, we didn't, I'd come out, bring the balls out and put the cones down, and they're running the show. So the leadership was fantastic in that team. And that's what you want. That's what we all strive for, is a team that's internally driven. This year's team, a lot of our returners, they didn't get a lot of time, like I said, but they understand that culture and going through that experience and having those big wins, and going out to USC in the quarterfinal and being able to win that game, come from behind and win in penalties. And those are stories and experiences that our returning players you can't recreate. And I think it's really pushed them to sustain the culture and sustain our standards no matter what. And it's a new team and it's still developing. But we've shown some real grit in some of these games where, a few of the games we haven't controlled, but we've come out with good results. And you've got to be that is just, kids who have been through it, and kids that have been on the reserve team or the second team, whatever you want to call it, and training against the first team for 2 or 3 years, and understanding what it takes to be a team member. I'm really, really proud of this team for where we're at right now. And, hopefully we'll continue.
One of the biggest challenges obviously is having sustained success, right? Where you want to go back and do it all over again, right? You got a taste of it last year and you were super close, and getting those players to get back there, I'd imagine that is something that the team obviously is aspiring to do this season. When you look at your career as a whole and look at the types of players you've had, and you've had a lot of really good players, and most of the coaches we talk to oftentimes say, hey, I wouldn't be where I'm at without the players, right? I need the players are the ones that do all this. What are the players? What are the key characteristics that you look for in these players who are coming to your program that have allowed you to be able to have this success and be consistent in the ACC? What are those types of players that you're looking for? I know we obviously have the names, but I mean, there's characteristics. There's certain things that you look for as a coach. What are those that you look for?
We've had a lot of success producing pros. And if you look at them, their resumes as youth players weren't necessarily, the 5-star kid or whatever. We want to find kids that are still hungry, that haven't reached their peak, and you can see in their personalities that they work and they have passion for the game. Versatile soccer players that understand the game, and kids that, if they're walking down the sidewalk and they see a piece of trash, they'll pick it up, that kind of personality. It's hard to describe, I guess, what we look for, but typically, when we bring a recruit on campus, we have them spend a lot of time with our team, not as much time with us, because we want to see how they interact with the team, and we get the feedback from the team about the recruit, so that they have to spend the most time together. So we want to bring good people who are compatible and have the same priorities as our current players. So that eliminates a lot of things right there. If we get bad feedback from the team about a recruit, we typically listen. And it's just a hunger. It's just a hunger. We want kids that are not satisfied and hold themselves accountable.
No, it's a great point. And, I only have a couple more questions left, and we'll let you get back to your busy day. When we talk about this game, we talk about the dynamics at play, and talk about the players and the environment. If you could describe your team, this team, in one word or even a couple words, what would you say? What would be that word that you'd use, or words to describe them?
I think just pride. I think they've got that characteristic of pride in their program, pride in their performance. It's a team that knows how to grind. I mean, we've had 2 tough games this weekend. We have Virginia Tech on Thursday, who's been our bogey team for the longest time. And the last 2 times we've been able to beat them, but in that game, they had more of the ball than we did, and we went down early and came back and scored 2 goals, within 30 seconds of each other, and we're able to grind out the win down the stretch and with some really great defending. And then, go to Boston College yesterday was really difficult. That place is a hornet's nest. It's just difficult to play on that turf, and very, very hungry, physical team. And we came out with a 0-0. We've had 6 shutouts so far, so we take a lot of pride in that. And but to go on a road in a tough game like that and have a chance to win it in the league is all you can ask for. So I'm really encouraged by the performances of this team, because they've been able to win games in different ways, stay in games, even under pressure, to not fold. And so, those are good traits to have in our league. Like you're going to be under pressure in our league. You're going to have to defend at times in our league. That you don't have a choice, and you have to take pride in that and buy into it, and get through the bad moments of games in our league, and that makes a difference of a point here or 3 points versus 0. It's like that's what these kids sign up for in the ACC. So I'm really proud of our kids for hanging in there.
No, and it's really cool. And my last question before we let you get back to it today here is, it's probably the toughest question that we're going to ask you probably ever. We ask this question of coaches across the country, and we like to kind of pick their brain. We talk about food all the time on our network, and because I think food brings people together. I mean, it really does. And sometimes I guess if you talk about the whole controversy about having pizza with pineapple, that's a whole other conversation in itself. But we asked Bobby like the same question, like, hey, when you get off that bus after a long weekend or a traveling, wherever you're going to travel to, and being a part of this, is there a spot, is there a place that you want to go to? Is it home to eat that meal? And more importantly, what are you going to eat?
Whatever's left over in the fridge. Last night I came home at about midnight, and there was some leftover pad thai in the fridge, and I nailed it. And it was late, but it was really good. Lately, there's a really good pizza joint called Grandpa Joe's Slabberia that just opened up here in Winston-Salem, and it is fantastic. And so I'll hit that as many times as I can. It's really good. I fancy myself a pretty good cook. And I do cook for the team once or twice a season. So I'm a little bit selective about what the quality of the food that I eat. And it's no one place. It's just I kind of go in phases and cycles. But Grandpa Joe's Slabberia, I tell you, if you're in Winston, come get some focaccia pizza. It's really, really good.
Sounds like something my wife would thoroughly enjoy. She obviously thin crust, right? Really thin, and then nice little toppings on top, like that flame crusted pizza.
Yeah, well, it's focaccia, so it's a little bit on the thicker side as far as the crust goes. But the ingredients are all handmade there. It's they make everything in house, and it's fabulous. So it's a good one, I'm telling you.
Well, if we are making our way to Winston-Salem, we will absolutely give that a try. But we appreciate you stopping on by here. Right now, Wake Forest currently 8-1-2 overall, 2-0-1 in the ACC, currently ranked number 16 by the United Soccer Coaches poll here that's done each and every week. In Duluth, we appreciate you stopping on by here and being a part of our episode number 163.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. You're doing good work, and keep promoting the game. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You're welcome back anytime. But Tony Luce, have a great rest of your week, and even more success here on the women's side here at Wake Forest.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So there you go. That was the head women's soccer coach at Wake Forest. And again, we talk about this all the time, Ryan, and really the different dynamics that are at play when it comes to the college game. And I love to be able to hear from coaches because, again, ACC different than the Big Ten. It's different than the mid-majors. It's different of that out in the West Coast. He'd mentioned they won in penalties over, USC here last year. Going out to USC, going to do a West Coast trip is completely different than going down south or going up north, right? And so it's always good to hear what coaches have to say about the dynamics that are at play, especially in the women's game of soccer. Hey, when we come back here from our next break, we will dive into the MLS recap here from this weekend. We'll also dive into the Michigan High School Soccer Coaches Association Week 5 boys soccer rankings, that and more coming up here on episode number 163.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game here on this Monday morning. Jonathan Turner alongside Ryan Glinsky. Our Nate Wangler not here this morning. Be back here tomorrow morning. Let's take a look here at some of the scores here from this MLS past weekend here. A little recap. You guys had highlighted on Friday the LAFC matchup against Real Salt Lake. That game ended in a 4-1 victory in favor of LAFC. Buenga had a hat trick, and they clinched a playoff berth here this weekend.
Yes, they did. Sorry, I'm trying to find the other. We don't have the score graphic. We just have a whole bunch of Eastern Western Conference stuff.
Yeah, we'll dive into standings if we here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they clinched their playoff spot. LAFC did. We also have another game that was one that to keep an eye on was that Austin FC versus Seattle Sounders game. Uzzini wins in it at the 90th +6. So in the death, Austin FC wins over Seattle. Their second big win here of the week is Austin FC. They obviously beat Minnesota United at their home on Wednesday. Wednesday.
I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah, and then they go home and they beat Seattle at home. Inter Miami, they had a 3-2 win over DC United. Messi's brace keeps their Shield hopes alive.
Messi had some great goals in that game.
That he did. Orlando City beating Nashville SC by a score of 3-2. Maybe a little bit of a hangover there from the semifinal win against Philadelphia. Call that the hangover loss right there. New York City FC 2-0 beating Charlotte FC. They did that with 2 PKs. And if I'm not mistaken, we saw Matt Freese make a PK save in that game as well.
Future World Cup starter for us.
Yep. Alonso Martinez converted a pair from the spot, and Matt Freese saved a Charlotte penalty as New York City FC clinched their berth with a composed home win. And they obviously punched a playoff ticket as well. Vancouver Whitecaps winning 2-0 over Sporting KC. Chicago Fire beating Minnesota United, man. They 3-0.
You just hate to see it, don't you?
Austin
You
FC,
just hate to see it.
Austin FC rolls in and beats Minnesota on Wednesday, and then we see the Chicago Fire rolling on Minnesota United on Saturday. So that was 3-0, and that was again in St. Paul. So that game did take place in Minnesota, and Columbus Crew drawing on Saturday, 1-1. And that, again, Columbus early edge as the Crews settle for a draw in a tight East seeding race. Let's take a look here at the Eastern Conference while we're talking about it. There it is. Maybe make it a little bigger so the rest of our us can see it. Yeah, maybe just a little bigger.
I was actually trying to find how many goals were scored this past weekend.
Oh, there you go.
Remember how we had 57 last weekend? I was seeing how many goals were scored this weekend.
That's right. So there you go. You've got Philadelphia sitting there atop. Again, they've clinched. Matter of fact, all four there, 1 through 4, have clinched a spot. 5, 6, 7 are obviously still in the hunt for a clinching. And then that 8 and 9, that's where that play-in game will take place between, right now, if the season would end today, between Columbus and Chicago. And so there's a look at the Eastern Conference. Let's take a look here at the Western Conference. Put that up on your screen. There it is. San Diego currently sitting atop the table. Again, they have all clinched. Vancouver, Minnesota, LAFC have all clinched playoff berths. Seattle, Austin, and Portland still in the hunt. And that play-in game, if the season would end today, would be between Colorado and Dallas. So there's a look at the recap here of this weekend's MLS. Let's dive into the Michigan High School Soccer Coaches Association Week 5 rankings. We'll start here with Division 4. As we do every single week. Again, we continue to highlight these divisions, and again, I think it's important that we continue to do that. Grosse Pointe University Liggett 9-0, Plymouth Christian 9-1-2, Lansing Christian 12-2-0, North Muskegon, Granville Calvin Christian at 6, Royal Oak Shrine at 6, Granville Calvin at 5, Western Michigan Christian at 7, Harbor Springs at 8, Clarkston Everest Collegiate at 9, and Wyoming Potter's House Christian is 10-2-0. We talk about the biggest changes in Division 4. Liggett, again, holds that top spot. They're still unbeaten. Plymouth Christian and Lansing Christian remain steady at that number 2 and 3 spot. Royal Oak Shrine climbs to number 6 from last week. Harbor Springs cracks the top 10, while Bloomfield Hills Roper earns a bump. Clinton makes a strong case for honorable mention, still unbeaten and threatening to enter the top 15. And Bad Axe is 8-0, also remains unbeaten and firmly on the radar. Take a look here now at Division 3. A new number 1. Detroit Country Day is not new, but they have been there for a bit, right? They are 13-1-1. Pontiac Notre Dame Prep is still number 2. Elk Rapids number 3. Flint Powers Catholic 4. Ann Arbor Green Hills number 5. Grosse Seal, Williamston, Frankenmuth, Paw Paw, and Alma all in that top 10. Ann Arbor Green Hills climbs into the top 5, knocking others down. Williamston is 6-6-1, stabilizes mid-table after an inconsistent start. Freeland and Grand Rapids North Point Christian round out the top 15. Fremont stays unbeaten and lands honorable mention, poised to possibly break into the top 15 maybe this week. Take a look here at Division 2. Forest Hills Central sets the pace. Now, Forest Hills Central was number 2 last week. They are a new number 1. They have been number 2 behind Hudsonville United Christian for most of the season. They have set that unbeaten record at 14-0-2. Hudsonville United Christian 8-0-4, also remains undefeated, but obviously those 4 ties. Warren De La Salle and New Boston Huron push forward with strong records. Bloomfield Hills Cranbrook Kingswood 9-1 enters the top 5 with an impressive surge. Mason 8-1-3, and DeWitt climb into the top 11 after steady weeks. And Marquette and Traverse City St. Francis earn honorable mention, adding more northern presence to this poll. Take a look here now at the Division 1 here. Portage Central still sitting atop of the number 1 team in the state. They are 14-0-2. Then you have right below them Heartland. Well, not right below, but Heartland is 16-0-1. Heartland is number 5 in the state. Ann Arbor Huron stays undefeated as well at 10-0-2 and keeps its number 2 spot. Clarkston and Okemos shuffle inside the top 4, but both remain in prime position. Remember, Clarkston, I believe last week was actually number 2.
I believe so.
And so, And then Royal Oak, 11-0, and Byron Center, 11-1, jump in the middle of the table with strong weeks. Saginaw Heritage, 17-1-0. Makes a splash in honorable mention with one of the best records in the state. Troy Athens, 7-2-3, clings to the final top 15 spot despite recent stumbles. They've kind of come in and out. We've seen them as high as in the top 10, and least them actually not make it. I think they've actually bounced out here a week ago, but they are in prime position as they always are, is Troy Athens. Again, that is your top 15 teams from each state. That is presented to you by Salt Athletic. We'll talk more about that here in Salt Athletic as part of our question of the day here a little bit later this morning. But those are your top 15s from around the state of Michigan for all 4 divisions there, Ryan.
Yeah, and you're kind of seeing the last couple of weeks here of the top 15 really start to mold itself as the top 15 teams in that respective division. I don't think we're going to see, maybe we'll see a couple other teams come back in, but other than that, I don't think we're going to see too drastic changes throughout the rest of the way. I think you've really kind of seen the top 15 teams mold themselves, and then kind of 5 teams, honorable mention every single week. So I think we're going to keep seeing those same exact teams. And also give a shout out to U of D Jesuit. We had their head coach, Aaron File, on the show. Gosh, is that like a month ago? That was like a month ago, wasn't it? And they're 11-2-1. Got to give a shout out to him. He's doing a great job over there with U of D Jesuit. But no, I think we're just going to continue to see the same teams kind of recycle in week after week as this season comes to a close in the next couple of weeks or so.
No question about that. We come back here from break. We'll get into our mailbag here. We got a lot of comments coming in over the weekend about MLS retirement. Is this a retirement league? I know that was a question. A lot of things happening here in our TikTok and Shortland, so we'll dive into that here on the other side of the break.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Welcome back in here to Inside the Game 163. You know, Ryan and I were looking last week at the calendar, and we were looking at when 200 could happen. As of right now, barring, you know, us taking a break or hiatus, if we were to continue on this path where we just do a show every single day through now and through till November, I think November the 12th was the day.
Yes, it was.
If we decided to take a breather, which very well could be the case here in October because of our schedule,
Especially
it would
those
be
2
more
weeks.
like November the 19th would be the day. Or if we did two, maybe like November the 17th. So it'd be like a Monday. So we will obviously keep everybody enlightened into that. We are going to try and do some really cool things for that show. But let's get into some mailbag. I mean, you guys, I was not here Friday. I was watching in spirit. But I am curious what the comments were. I kind of stayed away from TikTok this weekend. I'm just curious kind of what how many people you pissed off and what that looks like. So let's get to it.
Yeah, I pissed off a lot of people. Here's your mailbag. Yeah, so we had our first ever video have more comments than likes. We had 97 comments to 85 likes. It's a crazy ratio on this video that I did. Literally, I just didn't think there'd be any buzz at all. But for some reason, you guys took a lot of it. We had our first Stitch video. This was I said that the MLS was a retirement league, and boy, did this get a ton of traction. This one is coming from Philip Ruo. L Take. Are you going to ignore Olivier Giroud, Andre Pirlo, Steven Gerrard, Gonzalo Higuain, and others who fail to impress in the MLS? Also, at any given point, maybe 1 or 2% of players in the MLS are retirement players. Also, Zlatan played 3 seasons in Serie A after LA. Does that make Serie A a retirement league? MLS isn't a top league, but that has nothing to do with anything you said in this post. Let me tell you something, Philip. Actually, let me go to you real quick, John.
Sure. You can come to me. By the way, Ryan and myself, along with my wife, and at this point, I'm assuming it's going to be the rest of our family. We've all been like, we've come down with the sickness. Ryan last week sneezed over everything. I mean, I'm pretty sure that made its way to me. Now, I'm not feeling very well. Bianca, she's still recovering. And so when he dips off camera, it's because he's probably got to deal with that. But with that being said.
That's what it was.
Okay, we've talked about this before. You can call it a retirement league, but players are not choosing to come here in their prime. They're coming here in their downturn. Now, we can argue about Heung-min Son all day long, but the reality is that he's 34 years old, right? I believe he's 34. And yes, he could have signed another contract over in the Premier League. Yeah, of course he could have. But how long would it have been for?
He's 33.
And so, again, I look at it from the standpoint of this. He comes here. He has his success. He'll have more success here than there. And I will put a lot on that, by the way, because I believe that to be true. Okay? I don't believe that Lionel Messi would be having the exact same success. The exact same success that we had, that he would have over there as he is having here. So we keep saying that. So if we don't want to call this, we just call this not in my prime. Maybe we just read not in my prime league. Again, Son's not going to come here in his prime. He's coming here on the downturn. He's already had his prime. Again, we can talk about it all day long. And again, Beckham came here on the downturn of his career. Messi on the downturn of his career. Suarez on the downturn of his career. Son, maybe you could argue not the downturn, but it's pretty damn close. I would argue that, again, 34 years old, you start getting into your mid-30s, that's when things just don't start to click anymore or start to not click as they used to. So I would say this is not in your prime league if you're a player that's already playing over there. Again, perfect example of this is Christian Pulisic. Pulisic, who's currently in his prime. He's not 30 yet, right? He's 25, 26?
Somewhere around there.
Right? The kid still has 10 years before he would even consider coming back here.
Pretty much.
And the only reason he would come back here any earlier is that the money was right. And to be fair, after the World Cup here coming up here in June of next year, I would argue that might spark a lot of other players to make their way here who maybe are. So the World Cup might create an environment where players will come here faster. That might happen. Yeah. And so you might see a Pulisic who maybe is not, who you know what, I'm going to come here and play now. That might actually happen. But I'm not going to say retirement league. I'm just going to say not in your prime league.
Yeah, I think we are just a step above the Saudi League. Saudi League is truly a retirement league. That's, they get their extra little bit of money. But every single player is not going to come over here and light it up the way that some have. The way David Villa did, the way Zlatan did, the way Messi, Suarez, Busquets, Alba are doing as we speak. Every player is not going to light it up. No, Serie A is not a retirement league. Zlatan also played over there for a ton of years. He's going to go back to it at some point. But it's not an L take. It really isn't. Just because you disagree with it, it's not a retire. Guys, as Americans, we are used to the best being here all the time. We've got to come to the fact that we don't have the best league when it comes to soccer. We just don't. And to John's point earlier of, Heung-min Son could have absolutely got another contract in the Premier League. He absolutely could have. However, you look at players, I'm looking at Raheem Sterling for a perfect example. Sterling could have absolutely came over to the MLS a couple of years ago. However, he bet on himself, stayed at Chelsea, then went on loan to Arsenal last year, went back to Chelsea. Sterling hasn't done a damn thing. Sure, he's collecting a paycheck. He's still playing in Champions League. He's playing like 10, 15 minutes every here and there. Depends on injuries. But Sterling's not playing at all. However, they come here, they're starting. Absolutely they are. And this one, I This one I never liked. This one is from Alexander Mantooth. Okay, what retirement player does Columbus have or Philadelphia? What Asian European star does Nashville or Cincinnati sign? Can't seem to find one on Portland's roster.
Well, that's a terrible take.
I know.
Who wants to go to Columbus?
That's what I'm saying. What stars are going to these cities? What stars are going to do that? They're going to like one of 4 places. The New York teams, one of the 2 New York teams. They're going to Miami and they're going to LA's. That's where they're going. They're not going anywhere else unless unless it's an American homegrown player that started in Cincinnati, then made his way over, then he'd come back to play. Chicago has a better chance of getting a better player than those areas. These players are not going to Portland. They're not going to Columbus. They're not going to Nashville. Even though I think Nashville is a really beautiful place.
I think the likelihood of going to Nashville is greater than going to Columbus.
No one's going to Ohio.
Yeah, I mean,
no one
if you're talking about the top player, it's L.A., right? Any team in L.A. or California, and any team in Florida, and any team possibly in the New York tri-state area. Because, again, if you want to go someplace, New York City FC, great example of it, right? We can talk all day long about it. I mean, the New York Red Bulls. I would argue that those are 2 teams would be, again, if I'm putting it in priority, though, I would go anybody in California, and then anybody in Florida, and then after that, it's like a distant whatever that would be. I don't want to go to New York. I want to be in Miami. I want to be in Orlando. I want to be in LA. I want to be in San Diego. I mean, San Diego is a beautiful part of this country. It's always 70 there. It doesn't it's always 70. But anyways, that's a terrible take. If there's a thing we can have terrible take, that's got to be it. And is there a sound effect for a terrible take?
It could be that TikTok sound that constantly shows up.
What a terrible take. Well, it's not a retirement league because no one wants to go to Ohio.
No one does. No one wants to go to Ohio. The place sucks.
Hey, Sohn, where do you want to go, man? We'll give you a choice of any team in the United States. I'm going to go to Columbus, Ohio.
So this one is coming from a Minnesota fan. If you've noticed, there's a lot of Minnesota fans in the chat now all of a sudden. Wonder why. This one's coming from Tim Funk. So when the MLS sells players for 8 figures to European leagues, they are a retirement league. Both can't be true. I mean, was Tyler Adams worth 8 figures?
One more time on the question, I'm sorry.
Says, so when the MLS sells players for 8 figures to European leagues, they are a retirement league. Both can't be true. The only players that I can outside of Zlatan and David Beckham left, obviously, I think Tyler Adams transferred out, but I don't believe it was for more than $5 million. And then Almiron went to Newcastle from Atlanta. I don't know those exact fees, but they weren't crazy amounts. I mean, just because they sell a young player like that doesn't mean it's gosh, these people are so annoying. I had such a interactive week with the fan from the fans in all these chats. They've been very after me, but the MLS Retirement League, just because you sell 1 to 2 players, that doesn't outweigh the fact that 20 old retired players are coming over here. Just because you sell 2 of them, I'll get those exact prices, but just because 2 people do that doesn't mean that it's not a retirement league.
Yeah, I agree. Question of the day?
Oh, okay. Almiron was $27 million. Damn, Newcastle. Oh, okay, that was because of the start of their little oil money takeover. That's okay. That makes a little bit of sense. All right, question of the day. I literally just came up with a couple of minutes ago. Before we do that, Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at NSN. Save 15% off by using promo code NSN15. Scan that QR code or visit saltathletic.com today. But this one, he came up in the news this weekend with his performances. But question of the day. Will Pulisic become the greatest U.S. men's national team player ever?
We've already asked. Well, we've asked similar type questions as far as
we had him in the top 5 as of right now, but this is going to be the end.
Again, it depends what he does in the field. I think there's a lot of people out there that I did it. Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan were ahead of him, right? And so it's what he does on the field. What will happen this year, what he does this summer, I think will determine that. Not what he does after. If on American soil, he can lead this team to a quarterfinal victory, can get them out of the group, can lead them to a place where they cannot be embarrassed, I think that will either put him in that conversation as a GOAT for the U.S. men's national team, or it will drive him even further down the list. Again, what happens this summer, I think, will dictate a lot of that.
Yeah, I just asked this question just because he is now the American with the most ever goals overseas. I know that doesn't tell.
How many is that now?
50-something plus.
So he's got 57 goals overseas. He obviously just beat Clint Dempsey, right? So eclipsed him with the second goal this weekend. He would have tied him with the first.
But yeah, he scored 2 goals yesterday for AC Milan, coming off the bench, mind you.
Yeah.
And he is also supposedly going to enter contract negotiations with AC Milan to renew his contract at a couple more years. But Pulisic, I think time will obviously tell, but he definitely has the potential to do it. He really has the potential to do it. But if you want to be a U.S. men's national team GOAT, he's going to have to win something with the U.S. And I'm not saying just the Nations League. I'm not saying the Gold Cup, because we've been there, done that. Like we've graduated from that point. We have got to then graduate to round of 16 win. I still have never seen that in my lifetime. I'm 22. I've never seen that in my lifetime. Never seen a round of 16 win. We have to win a round of 16 game, get a quarterfinals. God, maybe he even makes a semifinal. Maybe he wins a Copa America when Argentina, Brazil, and we're back in that same competition. If he does that, he can absolutely be the GOAT. However, he's not there just yet, but he has the potential to do so.
I agree. That wraps up here our episode number 163 here on this Monday morning. We'll be back at it here tomorrow morning. Nate Wang will be back here in studio. We'll also have another guest here join us tomorrow. We obviously had Tony DeLuce, who was here with us this morning. Tomorrow morning, though, we'll put that up here. Who's going to be our guest here the rest of this week? Again, Kevin Boyd from Milwaukee Women's Soccer in the Horizon League. We just had a chance yesterday. Our parent company, Premier Media Group, is the broadcast arm of Oakland University. We had a chance to cover the women's Horizon League home opener for Oakland yesterday as they took on Cleveland State. That game ended in a 1-1 draw. But tomorrow we'll have Milwaukee Boyd on here. Again, Wednesday, Sean Burke will join us here as well. Andy Stutz and Garrett Elliott from the University of Rhode Island will also join us here throughout the rest of the week. We just booked, I think, another guest here for next Tuesday, just here during this show. And so we have a lot of guests.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. So it just they keep coming. We're having a blast here. We hope you are as well. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, like us, share this with your friends and family. We were live this morning on all platforms, including Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Roku TV, and YouTube. But for Ryan Glinsky, I'm Jonathan Turner. Thanks for stopping by here today. Be back here tomorrow for number 164 right here on the National Soccer Network. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.